not sure if you guys have been here before at all, but this is gonna be our Marshall Student Center. It's a pretty central location, all kinds of things going on. We have tons of meeting rooms. We have food court if you guys are interested. I'm not sure if it's still open. That I don't know for sure. But our event will be going on in the Oval Theater, which is going to be located on the second floor.
How many people are here?
Let's see, I believe we had a reservation for up to, I think my president put it down for 300, 350. Hopefully we can reach that number. We're hoping.
Okay.
All good?
Yeah.
All right. I will be turning in here. We'll take these stairs up to reach our location. Did everyone have a safe drive getting here?
Yeah. Oh, my worst enemies.
It'll be just up here. That's where we'll have our entrance.
I call stairs my worst enemies.
Pardon?
I call stairs my worst enemies.
Oh no. And without further ado, there we are. As a quick informational, as well as the Center for Victim Advocacy and Violence Prevention, we have a hotline for anyone that may need help or in any event of anything. We also have a confidential support on my right-hand side, located on the, I believe, your left-hand side. There's a center here at USF to help those who may have been a victim or any trauma from such events. And all the information is on here. And here we'll have our next speaker coming up.
My name is Dickinson. I am a speaker for RAIN. I've been on the Speakers Bureau for 6 years. RAIN is the largest anti-sexual violence organization in the nation. If you do not know, they have a hotline that they operate and that they created. Also, RAIN provides a lot of programs to help victims, as well as help the victims find justice. Most of the time, this situation actually has been recorded throughout history. A lot of people know about Greek mythology. We all know about Medusa. Everybody heard of Medusa, right? Okay. In the past, there was an account that Medusa was actually a beautiful woman. She was not the monster that we all know today. But this woman was assaulted by Poseidon in the temple of Athena, and Athena was very upset about this, but instead of punishing the abuser, she punished the victim. So if you are a victim of assault, there are a lot of things that you can do. The first thing that you want to do after an assault is get to a safe place. The next thing you want to do is to preserve evidence. You want to make sure that you don't wash your clothes, that you don't brush your teeth or anything like that. You don't want to destroy anything that the police can use to find your abuser. And you also want to make sure that you reach out for help and support, because only 20% of sexual assaults are reported. And that's why we're here today, to try to change that and bring up that number. So if someone you know is assaulted, make sure that you are that listening ear. Make sure that they know that it is not their fault, because most victims feel like it is their fault. What did I do? What did I wear? How could I have changed that? I had all of those thoughts even though I was a teenager. So that's something regular for victims to think. Make sure that you're listening. Make sure if they give you details that you are recording those details. And the last thing I feel like I shouldn't have to tell anyone is do not record it. But that's the society that we live in today. Just last month, we had a sexual assault in Philadelphia on a subway. People watched and recorded. Instead of using their phones to call the police Instead of pushing the emergency button that was inside of the subway, they decided to record instead of helping that woman. So let's make sure that we are that helping ear and that we're helping people who have been assaulted. The next account that I have, because this has happened throughout history, is the Bible. We all heard of the Bible. Most people have heard of Sodom and Gomorrah, but most people don't know about Lot and his daughters. In this situation, instead of a man being the abuser, it was actually two women who set up a man. It said, "And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. So come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve our seed." Okay, so it's cut and dry here. They actually waited until their father was incapacitated and they took advantage of him. And I just want to share my story just really quick. My assault happened when I was 13 years old, and it happened by a pastor. This pastor was my godfather, and my mother sent me to his house and he raped me. After this rape, I was not able to talk to anyone. I did not feel like I could eat. I didn't feel like I could trust anybody. It caused me to go into a really deep depression, and not only a depression, I also used drugs, and I also used my body for monetary gain. So these different things can happen to anyone. And if you look at the statistics, ages 18 to 34 are the highest at risk for sexual assault. Not only that, 1 out of 6 women have been sexually assaulted. And most of the time, men feel like they're not at risk, but actually in college, males are 5 times more likely to experience sexual assault than males who do not attend college. And then for the non-conforming students, they also have issues with sexual abuse as well. So some of the things that can happen after a person is sexually assaulted is they can have a lot of feelings of depression, anxiety, loss of appetite, PTSD, and suicidal thoughts. Another thing that I did not have on this slide that I experienced myself is the feeling of, if you can't beat them, then join them. Because after I was raped, my abuser was not punished. So I felt like I needed to go out and also abuse other people. Now, while I did not sexually abuse men or women or anything like that, I did a lot of mental abuse, financial abuse. I played a lot of mind games to get the things that I want, and those things cause pain as well. Now, I personally do not feel like we can prevent rape, but I do feel like you can reduce the risk. And there are a lot of things that you can do to reduce the risk. One of the main things is trying to avoid isolated areas. Make sure you're always walking with intent, and trust your instincts. If something feels weird, then make sure that you're not staying in that space. Don't overload yourself with bags when you're walking at night. Make sure your cell phone is always with you. And try not to become isolated with people that you know. Try to make sure that you're always around your group. If you're going to a party or anything like that, make sure that you're not wearing headphones in your ears while you're walking. 1 is fine, but 2 may be a little too much and putting you at risk. Make sure that you're always going into parties together. You go together, you leave together, and practice safe drinking. Do not accept drinks from people who you do not know. And make sure that you're not putting down your drinks so that someone can take advantage of you. As I said again, have a buddy system, and don't be afraid to talk about your feelings and let people know how you feel if you feel like something is off. And if someone asks you to go somewhere and you do not feel comfortable, don't be afraid to let them know. Just go ahead and let them know. And lastly, as we said before, be aware of your surroundings. Know who you are with and where you are at all times so that you can get out of a bad situation if you need to. And lastly, I just wanted to provide the resources again. As I said, they have a hotline that is available to you. It is free and it's open 24 hours a day. And they also have the RAIN website, rain.org, where you can get more information about victim programs, and you can also find out about ways to volunteer. And lastly, before I go, I just want to share a short PSA that I was in. And this PSA is just a short account from a few victims and why they didn't report and how important it is to report.
I didn't report because he was family.
Because he was a pastor.
Because I was scared of what people would say.
Because it was 1971.
I didn't report because no one wanted to hear me.
I was raped on a night out with my friends, and I was badly injured, but I never thought to tell anybody because I was so ashamed that this had happened to me. Also, I had been drinking and I was underage, and I knew that doctors and police would use that against me.
I was a senior in high school, 17, and I snuck out onto Bourbon Street. And I felt responsible for what they did to me.
I had gone to an audition for what I thought was a legitimate movie. My very first professional audition, and I was raped there. I blamed myself for many, many years.
I didn't report because I thought it was my fault, because I didn't think anybody would believe me.
Just a few months before I was raped, there was a man near my school who was kidnapping young girls. And in response to this incident, they separated the girls and the boys. They let the boys go off and play football, and they sat the girls down and told us how to keep ourselves safe and not to wear short skirts. And so all the messaging around me was telling me that this was my fault, that if something like this happens, then I'm the one to blame.
I woke up to being molested by my aunt. I went to the living room where all the adults were, and I burst in and was like, this person's name is touching me. And my grandmother, who I lived with at the time, yelled back at me, she ain't doing expletive to you, you just need to go back to bed.
When it happened to me, I was young and probably didn't have the maturity or the education needed to even fully comprehend exactly what had happened to me.
I just knew that it hurt and I didn't like it. I had no idea that there could be repercussions for someone doing what they did until maybe 4 years later, when I was 20.
And I didn't realize that it was wrong what he was doing, because he was telling me that he was doing it for my own good, because I was growing into a woman and he needed to make sure that I was growing properly.
Eventually, I knew it was wrong. Well, at least I knew I didn't like it. But I also didn't like to eat my vegetables, and I didn't like to go to PE class, and these were things I had to do. And so, for years, I thought it was just something I had to do.
At the time, I had a good friend who had approached the police about a sexual violence incident that happened to her, and they had told her categorically that there was nothing that they could do for her.
We would have discussions in class, in passing, about the Me Too movement, about the Brett Kavanaugh case. And so few people were willing to stand up. And what I heard was, these people are doing it for attention, for fame, for money, for a political agenda, and not a call and a plea for justice to be served.
My abuser was a well-respected police officer in our community who told me no one would believe me if I reported. He also made me believe that he would have my parents put in prison and killed once in prison.
My abuser had a lot of money, so he was able to get away with the things that he did to me.
He told me that he would kill my family if I told anyone.
I didn't report it being molested by my uncle because there was a shotgun in the house.
This person was someone who my family looked up to. I was afraid the damage it would do to my relationships with my family.
Because I thought to myself, if I come forward, someone who's already marginalized, someone who's already a minority, what are they going to say? What will they say?
It stopped when I was 11 and he'd gone away, and I remember being relieved and also thinking it was behind me, that there was no reason to talk about it or think about it, and I didn't. I didn't until the dreams started to come.
It wasn't until I had saw a puppet show at school about sexual abuse and sexual molestation that I realized that it was wrong.
By the time I had that power and that knowledge and I checked into reporting, the statute of limitations had already passed at that time.
But the last thing I wanted to do was tell anyone about it, which I didn't do, not even my therapist, for 40 years. I then, at that point, found out who my rapist really was and that he was a serial predator, and that gave me the strength to start talking about it.
I was on the phone with Mom and Dad, and I had decided it wasn't the right moment to tell them, at least not over the phone, but I was thinking about telling them over the holidays. That's when they told me that for the holidays, this man would be coming to spend those times with us.
I wish that I could say that if this happened to me now, I would report, but I still believe that we live in a world that blames the victim for sexual assault far too much of the time, and I don't trust the police to take it seriously.
If you're going to report it and you want to talk to someone around you about it for the first time, make sure that the person is safe. Safe means that you know that no matter what you say, that this person won't shame you or blame you or use it against you in any kind of way.
As I talked about what had happened, I felt better and better. So I encourage anyone, anywhere, to start talking about what happened to them and to start with a person they trust and then go from there.
I had what for me was the most unbelievable, cathartic experience. For me, the disclosure was important. It started a road to healing.
Just because we didn't report it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And just because we didn't report it also doesn't mean that it haunts us.
If anyone wanted to ask any questions about sexual assault, about experiences.
Anyone? Anyone have any questions? Comments? Nothing? Come on, guys. Somebody's got something. You're thinking. Is there a hand?
There is back there.
Go ahead.
I just had a question just for you. How did you find out that you were able to open your trial personally? What specific things helped you? Was it more time, or was the resources that you had available?
So it was time and resources, pretty much. I started to go to therapy probably about 15 years after the assault, but it was because I was in a very bad abusive relationship, and the man that I was with actually told me that I deserved what had happened to me, and it was at that point that I was like, I'm so done with this. I'm done. Like, I need to just take my life back. Anyone else?
With the red jacket?
So through everything and what you guys talked about, which is great, what would you say is the most important lesson that you guys would share with others?
The most important lesson that I learned is no matter how hurt I am, that we can always come back from anything. That was the thing that I learned the most. Because at one point I felt like I couldn't come back from it. I wanted to kill myself. Actually, I tried to kill myself, and thank God that I wasn't successful. but those are the type of thoughts that you have when you're in the moment. But if you can find those people and find those outlets to actually bring you over to the other side, it makes you stronger and it makes you a great person, and then you can go back and reach into the other people that need your help and maybe possibly help somebody before they try to commit suicide or before they try to hurt someone else as well.
My question was answered through the last one.
We really appreciate you guys coming out and listening to us.
All right. Thank you all for coming out tonight. As we mentioned previously, if you anyone you know or any of you have experienced anything, please make sure to talk to someone about it. We have counseling. We have the Center for Victim Advocacy and Violence Prevention, as well as the RAIN services. And as a community, on the topic of sexual assault and other cases, hold yourselves accountable. Be brothers, be a safe place for one another, and be a safe place to make the USF a better campus and community. Thank you all for coming out tonight, and give our speakers a big round of applause.